Why does it keep switching time periods? It can't be purely for my enjoyment, can it?
Don't miss a moment.
I have everything under control.
There was no other way.
And that, my friends, is WandaVision. What's up, YouTube? This is John B, and you are here with the Christian Geek, where we explore geek culture and how it relates to faith and Christianity. So today we're going to talk about WandaVision and why you should be watching it. So WandaVision, what's it all about? So WandaVision is a new TV series. It's a limited series that is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU. It actually just recently started streaming on Disney Plus, and boy, can I tell you, wow. This show is really done well, and I think the writers have done a good job to make sure that every little plot point is covered, and it's really amazing. WandaVision is a story of Wanda Maximoff, also known as the Scarlet Witch, and Vision, and it follows right after the movie Avengers Endgame. The strange thing about this series is that, well, Vision should be dead.
Flashback. End of flashback.
But here he is. He's living alive, and he is now living a happy suburban life with Wanda in the 1950s. It's really, really odd because as you watch this show, and as you will see in the trailers, it really is like watching a TV show within a TV show. So we actually progress through the show from the 1950s to the 1960s. It's like a black and white comedy and takes hits from the Dick Van Dyke Show and Bewitched, if you are familiar with those classic TV shows. And then eventually in the third episode, we actually hit the 70s. So if you'll notice, we're progressing a decade per episode. And this is where the black and white suddenly starts to have color. This show is really amazing because we're really not sure what is going on. At first, when you're watching it, it's like a TV show within a TV show. You're laughing with the joke, quirky story about two magical beings trying to fit in a suburban life and hiding their powers. So there are strange things that happen while it's going on, and then you laugh, right? But actually, there are some creepy undertones in this show, and there's an ongoing mystery that you're not really sure what's going on, and you're not sure who's controlling who. Initially, you will think that it is all Wanda who is creating this reality. After all, Vision is supposed to be dead, right? But we don't know what's going on here till it's revealed that actually there is life outside of this fantasy world that Wanda's created. And you will see here a group of people actually observing this phenomenon. This group is called SWORD. Now, if you're familiar with the comic book version of SWORD, SWORD is an organization that monitors and tracks aliens and space. They're kind of like a counterpart of S.H.I.E.L.D., where S.H.I.E.L.D. operates on Earth, while SWORD operates in space. And this has long been connected with Captain Marvel. So it's a nice thing to actually finally get introduced to SWORD in this show. But SWORD is kind of different. In this case, they are the Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division. In this case, they are actually observing sentient weapons. Exactly what Vision is, which is a computer with an artificial intelligence. But of course, a lot of people might get mad if I say that he's just a computer. And so we get introduced to one of the characters here, acting director Hayward. Well, you'll get to meet him later on. I don't want to focus on him yet because I think that's a little bit too much spoilery. And then you get introduced to one of the important characters outside of Wanda and Vision. You have Monica Rambeau. And if you remember Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau is actually the daughter of Captain Marvel's partner, Maria Rambeau, who was known as Photon. Monica Rambeau in the comic books actually was the original female Captain Marvel before Carol Danvers took over that role. And then Monica became Photon, and then eventually she landed the title or the character name of Spectrum. And so we'll actually be able to explore who Monica Rambeau here is. Does she have powers or not? And what is her connection with Wanda and this whole phenomena. And then you get introduced to two of my favorite characters in this show. You have Jimmy Woo and Darcy Lewis. So for those who remember, Darcy Lewis first appeared in Thor and Thor the Dark World, where she was, what was she? She was the assistant there for Jane. She had this very snarky attitude that actually a lot of people liked, and everybody wondered what happened to her after Thor the Dark World, because that was her last appearance. And so here she's back in her comedy together with Jimmy Woo, the character of Jimmy Woo, who first appeared on Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's really, really great. I think the dynamic between the actors of Kat Dennings and Randall Park, they really play off each other, and their chemistry is so good. A lot of people are even shipping them to be together. Where the basis of the show is actually based a lot on comic book stories, and mostly from one of the most iconic X-Men storylines, which is the House of M. So if you don't know, actually, Wanda Maximoff and her brother Pietro are actually mutants, and they were actually children of Magneto. And of course, Magneto is one of the most iconic mutant villains in the X-Men franchise. Here in this series, she actually created two realities where mutants were in charge, and another reality where mutants no longer existed. This is where they're drawing a lot of the storyline from. In the comic books, we actually see Wanda and Vision having a family and having their two children, but because Vision is a synthezoid and he's not a living being, he cannot have children with Wanda. So Wanda, she ended up creating these children via her own reality warping powers. She's that strong in the comic book series, and in fact, in one iconic scene where she was grieving the loss of the children because they were not real to begin with, she said these iconic lines, "No more mutants," wiping out most of the mutants in the X-Men universe. That's why it's actually very, very iconic. And a lot of people are saying this might be the way for mutants to actually come into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because for the longest time, if you don't know, in MCU, mutants don't exist. Right? And they couldn't introduce it because of licensing issues. So this might be the step for that, and I'm excited to see how it's going to play out. WandaVision is a very interesting series, and it's actually on its 7th episode. It already aired 7 episodes, and there are just 2 more episodes coming out. I really encourage everyone to watch this show because I think it has a lot of mystery. If you're into mystery, if you're into figuring out things, this is definitely a show for you. It has those dark undertones. It's kind of creepy even. So we see a lot of these characters here trying to figure out what really is going on. And is it really all just Wanda? Is it just her creating this world, or is there someone pulling the strings? And I'm sure that you will start to come up with your own theories as you go along. And you'll find out who it was all along, right? So I'm excited. Actually, there are 2 more episodes that are airing this coming Friday, and next Friday would be the finale. I really like this show because it really talks also about themes of loss and grieving and dealing with reality and how you deal or cope with losses in your life. If you remember, Wanda lost her brother Pietro. In fact, Vision died twice. In the movie Avengers Infinity War, and she never really got the time to grieve their loss because she got blipped. So she disappeared for 5 years, and everybody knows everybody got blipped. They don't have any memory. Nothing happened to them in those 5 years. They just got reassembled right after those 5 years. She is probably still feeling the loss and the pain that is going on. Maybe that's why she created this fantasy world. The word that really comes to mind for me is escapism. Why is it escapism? Because I think Wanda is really trying to escape her reality. She doesn't want to deal with it, and so she created this fantasy world where she thinks she could be happy. Now, don't get me wrong, escapism is not always a bad thing. But what is it? Escapism, according to Google, thanks Google, the tendency is to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by seeking entertainment or engaging in fantasy. And I think, engaging in fantasy and seeking entertainment from time to time is good. I believe that even as a Christian, it's good to find entertainment, to seek it out from time to time. You need to have rest from the pressures of work, the stresses of real life, and of the troubles that you might be experiencing. But always in moderation. I would say always in moderation. However, when we try to escape from a real world and we indulge ourselves in lots of food or unlimited Netflix binge watching, or maybe playing games until wee hours of the night, then we might not necessarily be dealing with the problems that we are experiencing in life. I just want to let you know that actually that is really not healthy. And there are better ways to manage pain, manage loss, manage grief, and manage heartache. We all have gone through heartache. We all have experienced loss of some kind. We have experienced troubles and worries that sometimes we don't know how to solve it. But escaping it and not dealing with it, in especially extended periods of time, or even creating fantasy worlds, it's not healthy. It doesn't do anything, and it actually can damage also not just you but the people around us. One of the things that we have to remember that we eventually have to deal with the truth. The Bible talks about the truth, how important the truth is, and we should deal with it. We should not escape from the troubles of this world, but face it head on, because it's the only way that we can process and move forward. A lot of times the troubles and the things that we go through, they're there because it's used to mold us, to make us stronger, to make us wiser, to make us better. In James chapter 1 verses 2 to 4, it actually says, "Consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, when we encounter trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And that perseverance will complete its work, so that you may become complete, mature, not lacking in anything." And I think that's an amazing thing to put into perspective, that trials and troubles are not there to hurt us really, but it's there to mold us, change us, transform us, and make us better human beings. Yeah, we can escape into our little worlds. We can escape into our fantasy worlds and spend time there. But if it's excessive, it really is not beneficial. The Bible also says that everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible, but not everything builds up. We need to face the reality that there are things that we need to deal with. We need to stand up and stand firm and deal with it. But the comfort here, and I think that's one thing that I would remind Wanda too, is that she is not alone. She's loved. There are people who love her. God loves her. And she doesn't have to deal with the loss and grief on her own. People are there to support you. People are there to help you out. And all you need to do is step out of your comfort zone and deal with whatever situation you're going through. No one has to deal with their problems alone. And I urge everyone who might be experiencing loss, who might be experiencing pain, who might be experiencing tragedy, to stop and ask for help. Because you are not alone in this, and people are more than willing to help those who are in burden. Do not put yourself in a situation where you think no one cares and that you'll only be a burden. I hope you enjoyed this short video on WandaVision. I hope you liked my short review and my thoughts on the subject of escapism. If you want to hear more videos like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe. That's going to help with the algorithms on YouTube and make sure that I can produce more content like this. That's it for me now. If there's anything that you want to hear from me, listen, review, talk about, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye!